Welcome back to the Stressful to Successful podcast with your co-host, Tiffany Chasson, and myself, Jaden D'Amico. On our last episode, we interviewed the one, the only, Jonathan Chasson, CFO of Bricks and Capital, a.k.a. Tiffany's dad.
It was so fun having my dad on the podcast. I learned so much about him that I didn't know before. I already knew that he owned a frozen yogurt store and how he got to the U.S., but it was very interesting to hear about how he was able to immigrate to the U.S. and all the different business ventures he went on.
I mean, he had a yogurt shop with his wife, and besides all that, he traveled for love.
I know, isn't that crazy? I think it was very interesting how he was able to, people talk about plan Bs? He didn't have one, which was honestly really thrilling to me because, some people are like, well, if this doesn't work out, then I have another option. He was kind of like, well, I'm going year by year and hopefully it works out. If not, we'll figure it out. And I think that mentality, not saying it's necessarily the safest, but it's how you live your life to the fullest.
Yeah, I can agree.
And I feel like he really decided like what was important, and then he was like, I just need a job that will sponsor me so I can stay in the US. And he didn't have the ego of, oh well, I need to stay with the degree I have or the certifications that I have, or I need a job that's up to my caliber. He was kind of like, well, I know that it's going to be hard for me to stay in the United States because he's a Canadian citizen. So he was like, I'll do whatever it takes. And I think people our age kind of lost that mentality a bit.
Yeah, totally. I mean, everyone, not everyone, I can't really say that. There's a lot of folks out there who really just are like, oh, well, like they could be stuck in Alabama or Virginia or Nebraska or wherever it may be. They'd be stuck there and they just think they're stuck there, right? But they're not really stuck there. I mean, this day and age with all this, we have trains, we have planes, we have cars, we have just all these different forms of transportation, and there's literally no excuse. I mean, I even told him myself, I was like, with me, I've went through Virginia, Alabama, Seattle, Washington, the Philippines, Florida, so on and so forth, with just like calling jobs. Oh, you're hiring? Great. And then going there. And getting a place to live. It's literally all it takes is a job and a roof over your head, and you can live anywhere in the world.
Obviously, it's harder with immigration because my dad came from Canada. But,
yeah, that's true.
But I will say that, if there's a will, there's a way, and it's all about how much effort you put in and obviously a little bit of luck. I did think it was very interesting, especially relating to you, Jaden, with, my dad's business ventures and how he was very entrepreneurial in some senses. Like he had a few businesses that he developed and then, went back and forth between his like steady 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 or 8 to 6 or whatever you want to call it job. And then also, had a frozen yogurt store and also was an entrepreneur in the tech space and did a lot of that sort of stuff. And I feel like that can really, you kind of have that entrepreneurial bug too.
Well, thanks. So he really did kind of start from nothing and really built himself up. I mean, honestly, it's really, really interesting, and it's really nice to really get to know him on that really personal level of how he went from being, a Canadian citizen to traveling for, in a sense, love, and having nothing but his backpack and saying, I'm going to figure it out. And he figured it out. I mean, when you put yourself in such a vulnerable state, you sort of isolate your mind into, I have to do this or else. And he did it.
Well, there's no or else. There's no plan B, which I think that people that have plan Bs, I think it's smart to have, backup options financially, but I also think that if you have too many plan Bs, you're not going to go with your plan A.
Oh, 100%. I mean, like, people are always just like, Jaden, you got to have a plan B, or Tiffany, what's your plan B besides producing or this, that, and the other? Well, just as you literally just said, I'm going to repeat it again, but in a more loud voice, is is that if you have a plan B, you're not focused on the plan A. That's setting your plan A up for a potential failure.
You're pretty much given up already.
Yeah, 100%. Bye bye. Like there goes your dreams. And it's if you have goals, if you want to be if you want to be a cop, or if you want to start a business, or if you want to go to the gym, if you want to start a hair products company, all the different really crazy cool people that we've interviewed over this time, they've had one plan, and that plan is to do what they want to do.
Well, it's like you can't expect other people to believe in you if you don't believe in yourself.
Yep.
Right? And I think when my dad was talking, he was talking a lot about, like most people didn't support it, especially like the Canadian mentality is you stay close to home. You even live at home until you get married. A lot of people do. So it's kind of like this mentality of why the heck would you ever leave? Like you have your whole family here. But, if you're just listening to the crowd and following the crowd, you're not going to do anything exponentially different.
Sometimes people just need to get out of Dodge. Have you heard that quote before? I got to get out of Dodge.
No, I haven't.
I have no idea where it's from, but it's a thing. Maybe it's from the movie It. I don't know. But basically, it's kind of like where I'm from. People think of Nebraska as, oh, I've flown over it before. Oh, I've driven through it.
I haven't done either of the things.
Well,
I don't think so.
Well, it's fun. You know what I mean? You got football, booze, and that's about it. And cornfields. You know what I mean? But like basically what you were saying is people are kind of just stuck in their whole like I'm here with family. My life is here. I can't get out. I can't go these places. I'll leave everyone behind. What people want from you is to prosper. Your family wants you to grow. They want you to spread your freaking wings and fly. Bird, fly. You know what I mean? And if you really want to support your family, if this is reaching anyone who has goals that they want to get out of somewhere, wherever they're at. Oh, I dream of being a hairstylist. Oh, I dream of doing whatever it may be. Go and do it. Your family will love you. They'll appreciate you. How else is it going to happen unless you do it? And this is what this podcast is about, isn't it, Tiffany?
100%. And I also think that it was really interesting with what my dad was saying, kind of about people put this pressure on themselves about like, oh, I don't know what to major in, or like, I need to think of exactly what I want to do with my life. And my dad got his CPA certification in Canada and in the US, thinking that was going to help him immigrate here. And he couldn't find any job, couldn't find very few jobs that were hiring for CPAs. And he was like, okay, well, I found this job that was in the real estate field. And now that's what he does today. And I find it crazy how people put so much pressure on themselves at 18. I need to know exactly what I'm going to do. And, whatever I major in college or whatever I decide to do for my first job is going to be exactly what I'm going to do forever. And I hope that's not the case at all, because I feel like people are constantly evolving. People's passions are constantly changing. Society's needs are constantly changing. So I think that having that leniency of letting life take you where it's supposed to, and having that trust that wherever you're meant to be, you'll be, and wherever you're meant to end up, you'll end up at, I think it's really important. My dad was talking a lot about how he took jobs that he wasn't necessarily he was way overqualified for, but he was like, I know where I want to end up, and if I don't take these jobs, then I'm gonna fail pretty much. And I think not having an ego sometimes really does service you, because you're able to build yourself up in different fields versus being like, I'm better than that and not learning. Do you know what I mean? I feel like if your ego is too high up and you're like, oh, I already know that, or, oh, I don't need to learn that, then you're not necessarily open to all opportunities available for you.
We're all able to do what we dream. Would you agree?
I think yes. It's just if your mind thinks that you're able to do that. Like it's all about your self confidence.
Mindset. What do all these like really interesting people, I guess motivational speakers and whatnot, always say? Mindset. What does that mean?
Well, who'd want to talk to, like, if you're going to sell yourself and you're talking to somebody who could potentially offer you a job, would you like to offer somebody a job that's insecure or like acts like they're trying to like seek validation from somebody? Like,
No.
you need somebody that seems confident about what their capabilities are, even if it's like half fake. Like, half the time I'm out there, like, just talking highly of myself or talking about myself, saying these things. I've done them. Obviously, I'm not lying, but I'm not saying like, oh, like I wish I've done that, or oh, like I could have done that better. Because if you don't sell yourself, like you need to be your number one fan. Because if you're not, no one else is going to be your number one fan. Like if you don't speak highly of yourself or respect yourself, how do you expect anybody else to respect you?
Honestly, I mean, there's a lot of people that are gonna be out there that are gonna envy you, envy your wins, and they may support you in the beginning, and it can just you can see over time as it sort of doesn't appear to be that way.
Yeah, which is honestly the sad truth about a lot of friendships and relationships that don't end up panning out. I really do think it's jealousy is the root of all evil.
So root for yourself.
And root for other people. I
Yeah,
don't think you shouldn't.
support your peers, right? I mean, like we spend all this time sharing those stupid videos from all these like people who've already made it in life, and oh yeah, this is funny. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. He's doing great. He's doing wonderful. Ah, la di da di da. Vin Diesel or whoever it may be, right? But I mean, we like, but our friend, right, through middle school, high school, or whatever, just started a flower shop, and we're not going to buy their flowers when we I mean, okay, everyone needs flowers, right? And we're not going to go buy them. No. We're going to go to the uh to the place we usually go, or
To like the grocery
the
stores.
grocery store or wherever it may be, and support who knows who, really. I mean, like what the heck, man? Like we need to get contributing to society. I say this a lot. I mean, I'm probably not on here, but I mean, you hear me say it all the time, right? And she's nodding her head if you're not listening. And I mean, to me, that in general, that basically means contributing to society, right? So, like, help support your friends when their business ventures, and whether you open up a fast food chain or a car shop, or even if you're just an average Joe working for somebody else, or doing or helping someone else's dream, you're still contributing to society in some such of a freaking way. Congrats, good job on you. But I really think that we need to take a take a leap and help our friends, help our families. You know what I mean? Like what happened to all that? You know, I was not around way back when, like 3 generations ago. But from my understanding, everyone in a sense had their own business, and then we started growing into working for each other and working for each other's and their friends and distant families and distant friends and neighbors and whatnot, and and that quote keeps going into my head: why be the employee when you can be the employer? um just support each other. If anything out of this, I would stress that you support each other. If you have friends or people who are on your Facebook, your Instagrams, your social media, or whatever it may be, and they're saying, "Come buy my stuff," or "I'm starting this thing," or whatever it may be, support them. What's wrong with you to not? I mean, you purchase Balenciaga, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, um, Christian Louboutin, all these all these other people and all these other brands, and we're forgetting about those dearest and closest to us, right? It's just
I do think also it comes down to, you know, believing that you have the capability of achieving greater. And I think it really does come down to jealousy too, you know? People are like, oh, well, this person's doing this, and I'm only like working a 9 to 5 at a company that I'm miserable. And the thing is like, if you support other people, that's how you're going to end up getting leads, getting jobs, networking with people.
Yes, you will be brought up together as a damn team.
And I think also it comes with, just holding yourself to a higher standard that you hope that you don't know what's going to come of things, but supporting, kind of like where, if you put yourself in their shoes, what would you like to be the outcome? Like Jaden and I have this podcast, right? And what if my close friend had a podcast? He would love for me to be supporting him, posting, getting our name out there. So when it's the other way around, why aren't they doing the same? Like what? And so my dad went into, when he moved to the US and how it was pretty difficult, but people kept telling him that it was impossible. But clearly it's not.
I hear that so much.
But clearly it's not, because my dad has 5 children. He's been here for 28 plus years. And if there's a will, there's a way.
100%. Like literally, I mentioned this only, I think, one time before. If you're listening and you want to start a business or you want to do something great for yourself, or there's something that's been on the back of your mind that you wanted to begin, finish and end and retire doing, or whatever the heck makes you happy, Google. Literally Google. How do I do this? How do I do that? And there's literally step-by-step processes. I know it's super cliche for me to say, but it's a thing. It's a thing.
Okay, let's talk about investments, because my dad talked a lot about real estate investments, and it was very interesting because a lot of people think that the best type of real estate investments are residential real estate. And my dad was talking about how his expertise is more in commercial, and kind of how there's less risk in it just because the market is less, what's the right word? Like it's less, it doesn't go up and down as much. So I think for him, like the company that he works for does a lot of, buying real estate projects, whether it's malls, apartments, multifamily stuff, and then they end up keeping it, refurbishing it, either renting it out and keeping it or flipping it. And obviously it costs a lot more to buy out commercial real estate, but usually you're not like the sole investor in these type of projects.
Yeah, there's like partners, right? I mean, you have like a group of gentlemen or ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, which is very interesting to hear, because a lot of times, like when you talk to people, all they talk about is like buying homes or buying, apartments or buying something of the sort. So it's very interesting to hear from my dad, because he doesn't really invest in, we have a home, but he doesn't invest in like multiple like residential homes.
Very surprising to me, actually. I mean, with his knowledge, I always kind of thought that he would be the kind of guy who would have like, like apartment, like, or like multifamily homes and ADUs or whatever out the wazoos. But no.
I know he invests a lot in like apartment complexes and that sort of stuff, but he doesn't really have like a portfolio of residential, which is very interesting, especially because, things fluctuate so fast. So if you're not ready to, make moves when the market's ready to make moves, then you're being left behind.
He says that it's like an interesting process too. I mean, this was off the record, of course. When we were Tiffany and I were sitting down with him and just kind of like asking him general questions about real estate and commercial properties. He was like, well, I mean, you got to have the location, and then you've got to fill the place. You got to have people companies who, want to be there in that mall or in that shopping center.
Like tenants.
Tenants, right. Abercrombie and Fitch, whatever, blah, 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 so on and so forth. And I guess hope for the best. I mean,
well, what he was saying too was that like you just need like an anchor. So you have like a Nordstrom, or you have a Macy's, or you have a JCPenney, depending on like the scale of the mall. And that will bring a lot of other tenants in, because Nordstrom's is a big turn. It's a big draw, right? So if you have a Nordstrom's in the mall,
Right.
then like a Forever 21 or a Zara or whatever it may be, a Lululemon will be like, oh, wait, you have a Nordstrom in the mall? I would love to sign a lease.
So they all sort of like feed each other.
So like I would say the big bulk of work is getting those department stores in. And a lot of the times they give them a space for free because there's such a big draw to the mall.
Interesting. Huh. Life's a trip, isn't it?
No, it's just very interesting talking to my dad, especially because we don't usually talk about this sort of stuff. So it was very interesting and knowledgeable talking to my dad about investments and kind of like how I knew that he immigrated to the United States and I knew it was a lot of work, but you know, really setting your mind to something and not giving up, like you can achieve whatever you want in life. And a lot of people don't believe that. And clearly he's a product of it, you know?
100%. I mean, we can recap over what he's done, right? I mean, he's moved from Canada to the United States with absolutely nothing but a backpack. And
he had a pretty secure life back home. Like he was working for his father. He was working, you know, he had was taking over the family business.
He left his security.
Yeah.
He left his security blanket.
And everything that he had known. All
And
of his
went
childhood
to
friends.
the Americas. And
for my mom.
For for her mom. And that's like really beautiful. It's really sweet, actually. And he just stuck to it. You know? That's so cool.
And now he has 5 kids and 2 dogs.
I think honestly, I think your father and I kind of like have a little bit in common when it comes to that. Like just moving around and just winging it, seeing how things go. That's really cool. It's really, really cool.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed our episode last week. If you haven't taken a listen to it with my dad, Jonathan Chasson, it was very, very insightful, especially if you do live in another country and are trying to immigrate to the United States, whether you live in Canada or another country. Listening to my dad's story would be honestly really inspiring. And we hope you really enjoyed last week's episode. And if you haven't checked it out, you can check it out on all platforms you listen to podcasts on. And anything else you want to say, Jaden?
Yeah. Stressful2successful.com. We'll have all the links and information there. Our Instagram, our YouTube, our TikTok.
Well, I think that's a great way to sign off. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, please comment below what else you'd like to see from us.
We would love that.
And if you haven't listened to last week's episode, please go check it out. I find it very inspiring. I've had lots of people message me, which has been awesome feedback. My dad has never been on a podcast before, nor does he have any form of social media besides LinkedIn. So this was great being able to have him on and hearing his insight. He is way smarter than most people I know. And it was just really great getting to hear from him.
All right. So once again, thank you so much for enjoying the rest of this podcast here. You have your co-host, Tiffany Chasson, myself, Jaden D'Amico, stressful2successful.com.
And we will see you next week.